So who's ready to talk about some fucking pure raw virginity? So yeah, we went from making a video on, the Yakuza as a game, but like an RPG, to this shit. I know, this seems like a downgrade, but trust me when I say this series is fucking fantastic, and I'm gonna really try my best to convince you all that it's fantastic, and then you can get into it, because, man, ReZero as a series, I genuinely did not ever think I would have this opinion on it. I was interested for a little while when I saw some Twitter clips on it, and honestly, I didn't think it would be super high to me in terms of a series. I thought it would be like, alright, but man, how fucking quickly that changed. Let's go back even further in time though, because we need to get a full perspective on how I viewed this series for the longest while. All the way back, maybe like 2016, 2017, something like that, I had seen, of course, a whole bunch of posts all over social media of people posting about this new series, but I didn't even know what the fuck it was, and I didn't really watch any isekai type of stuff. I watched like 6 episodes of SAO when I was super young, but I mean, really, I didn't watch any of that shit, so I had almost no interest in this, and especially because this shit looked like some harem stuff. This looked like some absolute, like, actual virginity type of shit that I did not want to get myself involved with at all. On top of that, a very specific Discord bot that let you collect JPEGs, and I mean, that's all it really did, was let you collect JPEGs, and I used that for a while. That was a real low point in my life. But a Discord bot that let you collect JPEGs of characters had one of the characters from the series in the top 2 most popular, and I mean, number ones sucked a whole lot. I know that the show from number 1 isn't that great. I mean, you may like it, that's your own opinion. I'm not gonna judge you or anything, but from me and my friends discussing things about that show, we do not like that show at all. Actual fucking garbage. But, I just kind of made the same assumption with the second one, because hey, if one of those shows is at the top, number 1, the second one is probably not that much better. And I kind of thought, okay, that character's probably shit. Man, how quickly my fucking opinion changed of that character. And honestly, I was not gonna interact with the show at all. I didn't feel like touching it or anything, trying to see what it was about, until I saw a Twitter clip, or rather a Twitter screenshot, which was then followed by a clip, and it immediately gave me the impression of, oh, I see, this isn't some regular harem type of show where, oh, everybody wants to suck the main character's dick. No, there's something a whole lot darker to this, and I was just not seeing that. Everybody was shilling out the, women, really, and nobody was actually pointing out the big premise of the show that I did not realize. And then after a while, I saw a few YouTubers I watched just making reviews about it and everything, mentioning the premise of it, giving all sorts of details about it, and it became very clear to me that, damn, this show might actually be really interesting. And as of last year, I saw some friends watching it just in a voice chat. I decided I'd join. I watched 2 episodes of it, really fucking enjoyed it. They went to go do something else, so I fucked off and went to watch about 12 episodes that night. I stayed up till 8 watching 12 episodes, and man, I did not regret it at all. And then after a few days of just watching all the episodes, I pretty much decided, yeah, this show's in my number 2 spot. I have absolutely, no objections to thinking that. I truly felt like that show was in my number 2 spot of all my favorite shows, and really, it's only improved as I've continued on with the series, but man, I was not expecting this at all when I got into it. But allow me now to relay the premise to you, as obviously that's something you might want to know in case you're interested in getting into the series, so allow me to now give you the details about the series. So a 17-year-old boy named Natsuki Subaru is just leaving the store one day where out of nowhere he's just transported to another world. He doesn't die at all, if you're wondering. It's not the whole cliche type of thing of he dies and now he's transported there or something, or he's kind of summoned by some higher force. It's just he's there now. He just kind of appears. You just have to accept the logic of that. But Subaru gets transported to another world where it has all the average fantasy stuff you'd expect, you know, beast people, magic, all that stuff. And after having a run-in with some thieves in a back alley, who get stopped by two new characters, we're introduced to these two new characters, who are Emilia, this silver-haired elf girl, who's, you know, pretty nice, a little bit clumsy, but pretty nice, and Puck, who's a little cat spirit man, and, I mean, some of the shit he says really just tells you how old he is. But after being helped out by them, Subaru pretty much decides to pay them back and help them out as well. And in terms of that, it's helping them find a certain jewel they're looking for. And while going to the location where they most likely expect this jewel to be, Subaru is greeted with a very fucking painful death. And then is brought back to life by his newfound ability of Return by Death. But this is where we learn the big plot point of the series, is the Return by Death ability, which pretty much lets him come back from a horrible death right to a random save point that has been decided. And really that's all I'm going to give for the premise of the series. I don't want to go too much into it, as I feel like, you know, that could give almost too much of a spoiler towards certain things, but that gives you a general idea from what to expect. Speaking of Mr. Subaru, as well as many other characters, the characters of this series feel really fucking developed and well made. A lot of characters in this series feel like they have a whole lot of building to them and everything. They might feel a little bit short on that in earlier arcs, but that may be because other characters are getting the bigger focus, they're getting more building, and therefore the characters who don't really have much building yet are going to get it shortly after. But each and every character feels like they're really well built, whether it's like, you know, they make you really happy and like seeing all the scenes they're in, they make you angry and you want to see them die. Just regardless of what their overall, I'm going to say, purpose is, they all feel really well done, except for one character. But I mean, I'm not going to talk about that character, especially because anime-only people haven't seen that character. But they suck. But regardless, everybody else is cool. And Subaru himself is especially really good. I see a lot of people all over social media just making fun of him as a main character and everything. But he is genuinely so well done as a main character, it's actually fucking insane. He is well written to the point that it feels like he is a genuine human being. And these are like actual emotions we're seeing out of him. He is really fucking well done. He might actually be the best main character I've ever seen, like in terms of just written anything. Not even like written stuff, just anything, full stop. And the arcs of this series as well really help build onto him, as well as other characters of course, but it helps build onto him a whole lot as a character, where there's all sorts of situations he has to go through and see how he can solve the problems of each arc, and you really get to see more and more out of him and how he deals with these things. And all of these arcs, by the way, are all really good. Some better than others, but that might be because of length or something. Like, for example, Arc 1 is the equivalent of 4 episodes and an entire volume in terms of the novel. So, it's not a whole lot in terms of length, but, you know, it's still decent. But the arcs of the series are really good. They present problems that are really interesting to see how he's going to solve them and everything. And they also all kind of just flow into each other. Like, unlike a lot of series out there, it's not something where it'll be this random amount of time has passed in between this arc and this one, and now we're just at this point. These arcs actually have a set amount of time almost that has passed through them, and usually it's only like a few days at most. There's one occasion where it's just a year, and that's because like nothing bad has happened for that whole year. But overall, for the most part, it's from like a few days to a week, or even some cases just immediately after. And all these settings we see throughout these arcs are also really interesting. They're very simple in terms of design. There's nothing too over the top about them, but they're at least unique enough that they feel interesting to see. And I'm very interested to actually see the next arc to be animated, because it's a neat little location that I think will look really fucking beautiful when animated. I'm excited to see what that'll look like, but man, it's simple, but still really nice looking. Now, you may have noticed something that I mentioned earlier. Novels. Because, yeah, the series originally was a web novel. I mean, it still is, but, you know, it started there, then became a light novel, then became an anime, and then also had a manga there. The manga's still trying to catch up to the anime, which is kind of funny. It's usually, you know, the opposite, but that's how it is for this. But now this raises the big question. What do you use to get into the series? And honestly, if I were to give my opinion on it, honestly, just choose whatever sounds better to you, really. The novel, of course, gives you all this information on what's going on and everything that feels nice to see and everything. However, of course, the anime shows you everything and shows you characters interacting with each other. You get to hear them and all that, which, by the way, in case you're worrying about dub or sub for the series, do not worry. Both are pretty fucking good, except for the one thing with the dub where a character's name is pronounced with an O when there's an A in there, and it's really weird because it's already a character with the same name with an O, so it kind of becomes weird when you pronounce their name with an O. There's an A in there. I feel like you should be able to read the letter A, but you know, that's just me. The anime does a really good job at giving you all these bigger moments animated in this beautiful type of way, but at the same time, of course, the novel doesn't cut out details, because the anime sometimes actually cuts out details, and that's kind of a big thing. But, you know, really, at the end of the day, it's whatever you would prefer, because honestly, both of these I think are pretty decent in terms of just telling the story. It overall just really depends on if you would prefer to read a novel or just watch it and then possibly move on to the novel when you're officially caught up. And speaking of the novels, this series does some really interesting shit with the novels. There's two big things I want to mention that are, in my opinion, pretty huge. And that's, first of all, the what-if scenarios, which are really interesting because I feel like when you're watching a show and there's a choice, I'm going to say, presented to one of the characters, most likely the main character, but, you know, there's an overall choice that could be presented, and they choose one option. Your mind might immediately go to, okay, what would happen with that other option, right? Usually that's just an unanswered thing. It's something that you have to kind of speculate in your mind. Luckily, the author of Re:Zero decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna make an entire, like, series of novels on this shit. For each scenario that there's a choice, there's just a novel to go with that for the opposite choice. So you get these really interesting scenarios where you finally get to learn what it would be like if this option was chosen and everything, and it's like actually really fucking cool. I like them a lot just because of the idea of, I already really like what ifs, and this just pretty much, instead of theorizing, I can just see what this shit is. I don't have to think about, oh well then this might happen or this might happen. It's just, it's there. All my answers are there. And then you also have side stories for characters in terms of the novels, which are just extra volumes and stuff like that, which pretty much give you more context to the character, their background, all that. And it's really good for character building, really, because these are all like canon events, and it teaches you more about a character you might enjoy, which obviously gets you more interested in the character, more interested in the series, seeing what happens with them, all that. It's really fucking great that those are made, because it really does help out with some of your favorite characters that you might have in the series. Now, those are some simple details of why I love the series and everything, but if you need just a bit more, here's a nice little section of the video where I just gush about some of the shit I really fucking love. Holy shit, dude, the fucking villains of this series. Like, okay, a series usually always has really fucking good villains to it, especially a really good one. But oh my god, the villains of this series, their powers are really fucking cool. They have some interesting stories to them. They're just actually fucking intriguing. Character design wise, they look fucking sick most of the time. And character backstories, dude, holy shit. at minimum, they are just good, right? But maximum, they actually are the best backstories of any fucking media out there. They are insane, and usually they have this big build-up, you know what I mean? Like, a backstory is established for a character, and it's a big build-up throughout the series of how is this backstory almost gonna, like, pay off in a way, if you get what I mean? And you get this huge fucking payoff when those do, and it's great. It's really good. It makes those backstories even better, because now you get to see what the, like, fruit of this shit fully is, and what it's developed into, and it's fucking great. And oh man, we want to talk about some good shit. Oh, you want to talk about some good shit? This series got some fucking bangers, you know? I know what type of person you are. You're the type of person that goes in your car, starts blasting anime music on your fucking Spotify at 100 volume, whatever it may be, right? You're that type of person? Alright, good. This series has absolutely no fucking bad vocal tracks at all. All of them are good. Whether it's the voice actor ones, it's the fucking openings, especially the openings, the endings, all of that shit is just good. Oh, and bangers. We want to speak about bangers, huh? The fucking OSC. We want to speak about bangers. Ooh. Me editing this video. Fucking shove some clips in here that just absolutely, you know, shows how good this OSC is. Just shove some clips in here right fucking now. Unless we can't actually put that in there. In which case, provide some links in the description. However, if we can, shove some fucking links in there. I don't care if this video gets ads and it has to, like, go, you know, to the people who made the fucking music. They fucking deserve that money, but just shove that shit in here now. Hey guys, Nia from the future here. I kind of forgot to include this little section of the video in here as part of the gushing stuff when I was originally recording this. This was just something I totally forgot about. I also don't have the lights up and everything because currently it's very late. But, you know, I wanted to include this in here because I felt like this is a really important thing to include in there that might intrigue somebody into the series. However, it does contain spoilers and everything, so if you're against hearing any type of spoilers or all that, right, I'd suggest just skipping to the end, right, go right there. But if not, if you're cool with it, if you're cool with hearing some more about the series, I would like to talk to you all about what is currently, I'm going to say, my favorite episode of the series. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, like, chapter compared to the novels and everything, but it's absolutely my favorite episode of the series, and it's quite possibly one of my favorite episodes of, like, just any show of all time. It's up there. It's fighting two other shows with 2 other episodes, but, you know, it's a tough battle between all 3, but this episode I feel like I really need to talk about in order to express how much I really fucking love this series and what really got me into it. So there was countless episodes when I was watching the series that were really good. Me editing this video, go ahead and roll up a list of all those. But even with all of those episodes, even like early on where a lot of them were still really good in there, right? A lot of them were nice, they had some great moments to them, all that. I don't think any of them could really compare to the one I'm going to talk about, because this one really just fully stapled it into my mind that this series is fantastic. It is one of my absolute new favorites, and you know, there's just so much to it. There's so many emotions that it just throws at you that it almost makes you not know how to feel, and that it almost feels like the greatest fucking feeling ever. So I gotta give a little context to the scenario, right? Because without context, you might not fully understand what makes this episode so good. So around Arc 2, we get established with new characters. One of the biggest ones that plays a huge role in both Arc 2 and this one is a character named Rem. She is absolutely my favorite character, Not because of, you know, some self-insert shit that I know some people probably have the reason for liking her a whole lot. More so, I just like her a whole lot as a character. I think she's fantastic, and she just gets better with time. But Arc 2 pretty much establishes her as a character as well as her sister, we're not gonna go into too much. I don't feel like we really need to. She's not really important here. I brought her up earlier as a funny little thing about the dub, but you know, we don't really need to bring it up too much here. More so, I just want to focus on this viewpoint of her and Subaru and this relationship they have, and this build up to this episode. So for a good majority of Arc 2, these two are kinda enemies. Subaru has a scent on him that makes him essentially associated with the witch cult, which are essentially a group of evil people who are responsible for Rem's entire village burning down and pretty much her entire race being killed other than her and her sister. So it's obvious on why she feels he's an enemy and why she's trying to kill him for a good majority of it, until eventually, by the end of the arc, he proves himself, and this viewpoint goes from she views him as an enemy to she now views him as a hero and somebody she absolutely loves. So then let's flash forward a bit, right? We're now on the third arc. Some shit has gone down, some really bad shit, some painful shit, and it's pretty much been established by now that the witch cult will go to the mansion, the main place where everybody's staying, and attack there. With Subaru, he has the knowledge of everybody there is going to die. So this is a really bad scenario for them, and he's trying to figure out how to solve it. Except, in this scenario, he's not really trying to figure out how to solve it, because he's essentially just witnessed every single character just dead on the floor. Anybody in the village, anybody in the mansion, whatever it may be, everybody there just dead on the floor. And it completely just traumatizes him. He doesn't know what to do. He can't even move. And he's just in this fucked state for a majority of the time. Rem is trying to protect him for most of the time and everything. Right, they're going on this carriage ride back to the mansion, and all of a sudden, they're attacked by the witch cult who are nearby. They then take Subaru away, mostly due to the fact that he has that scent on him, and, you know, there's this association with them, everything. And now, of course, Rem is trying to search for him, and he's locked up in chains, and we're introduced to essentially the first big villain of the series. The first other big villain is technically introduced in the first arc, but you don't see her a whole lot for a good majority of time after the first arc, so I would argue this guy is the way bigger villain, and he is really fucking eccentric. I love it. Like, he is an absolute perfect version of that crazy type of villain, you know, who just rambles on and has these motions that are extremely fucking odd, but they're great, right? He's the perfect just version of that. But not long after, eventually, Rem uses the scent from Subaru to essentially locate him. She runs in, kills a bunch of the witch cultists. She's pissed, of course. These people are responsible for burning down her village, and now they have kidnapped the person that she is trying to protect the most, other than her sister, of course, but, you know, a person that is of such top priority to her that she would absolutely kill people if that's what it takes to protect them. And she makes it there, she starts killing a whole bunch of them, and then she makes eye-to-eye contact with Subaru. She gives that a good smile, says something, which I'm assuming is something in Japanese that I just, like, you know, I'm not very good with reading the words, because honestly, like, I don't really know Japanese. I'm assuming it was some shit of, like, I don't know, love you, something, I don't know. But, you know, that's a complete guess. And then it is immediately followed by her getting grabbed from something unseen, which is quite literally what it is, and her body contorting in the most horrific and fucking disturbing way. Like, it is horrible to look at. This is the clip, by the way, that I saw on Twitter that got me interested in the series. I saw an image of something related to this, right? Like the villain saying something, and then it was probably followed by a clip of this, and that was what immediately made me realize, oh, this is not some, like, weird shit that people are getting into. This is an actual, probably good series. And man, just the way her body fucking contorts, it is horrifying. And the sound effects really don't help. The villain also, like, pretending to be her and talking as if he's her, it's like, oh, it makes this moment really disturbing and just actually makes you fucking squirm. And then he essentially just fucking kills her right there. And, you know, Subaru's in a fit of rage. He's trying to essentially break the chains that he obviously can't break. He's not that strong or anything. And it's this moment where it's like he's desperately trying to get out of this situation. They've already all fucking left. They've already gone to the mansion and just fucked off. And he is really trying to get out of this until it's pretty much revealed that she was still alive, and she's using, I think, her like elbows to kind of just slowly move over painfully. He grabs her with his mouth, puts her on his lap, and she just mentions to him that he has to live and everything and that she loves him, and she dies there after that. And it is fucking painful. And the OST that plays here, right? It starts playing here and it plays for the rest of the episode essentially. I showed it earlier. It's the one that I put the title of Requiem of Silence, and it is so good. It's like 7 minutes long, but it is so fucking good. It is quite possibly the best like orchestral type of track I've heard in anything. It is really fucking good. But anyways, focusing on the story, he eventually gets out of that like little cave there that he was locked up in. He's holding her, just her dead body in his arms, walking all the way back to the mansion, seeing everybody just fucking dead again, and the entire place covered in snow. And Puck appears out of nowhere, but this time large, and just immediately fucking kills him. And the credits just roll there. And there's so much to this that I want to go into. First of all, this almost feels like a very, like, I want to say almost bleak ending, right? It almost feels like this is going to be the end of it, right? It's that bittersweet type of end to the series, as if like to say that this is going to continue forever. This is what's going to keep happening. That first is just what makes it really fucking good, because there's an implication of that. There's an after credits scene which unfortunately I feel like kind of removes almost that thought process, but it does almost feel like for a little bit of time that this is just the end. This is how it ends, especially with the way the credits roll. It feels like that, and you know, the track just playing in the background. But also, I mentioned earlier the emotions this episode makes you feel, and it is like insane. You feel angry at the villain. You feel fucking sad as shit that she's just dead, and like in this manner with the shit she said and everything, and all she was trying to desperately do. All this. Fucking, it's also horrifying because of what happens to her and everything. And there's just so much shit to it, and like the mysteriousness of like Puck and why he's that large and everything, and it's like you don't understand why he's that big. It's this like, what the fuck, why does he look like that, right? And there's so much to it that I genuinely think this episode is just fantastic. It fights, you know, like the two other episodes I have up there for like my favorite episode of anything. It is just like, how the fuck did they make this, dude? Like, honestly, if I'm being completely fucking honest here, right, if you want to read the novel, good on you, right? Sick. You want to do it that way? That's your preference, whatever. Do it. But the one thing I will say is when you get to this part, if you realize you're at this part, or if you checked ahead somehow or something, honestly, just switch over to the show, just for this episode. Because, oh my god, this is actually one of the moments where I would absolutely say, yeah, the show handles this shit better somehow. Like, I almost feel like majority of the time the novel kind of lands a whole lot of shit better, mostly because there might be more context or something, there might be more details as to what's going on. Like, my favorite backstory of anything, right, any type of media, which is in this series, I don't know if they'll animate it that well, because it's not animated yet, but I don't know if they'll animate it that well, because there's so much shit to it that's like essentially said in the novel that I don't know if they can implement it in there. They might be able to, but who knows. But this is one of the, I think, only times where I will absolutely say, yeah, no, the show absolutely knocked it out of the park with this. Like, the novel does not at all compare. It is insane. I feel like that episode alone might just intrigue you into getting into the series. If I interested you in the anime, fucking get into the series. If I interested you in the novel at all, get into it. Really just get into it if you're interested at all. Even the minimum amount of interest, right? If it sounds even a little bit interesting, just try it out. Just get into it. Get into it. Hurry up. Hurry up and fucking get into it. Alright? Hey, thanks for watching the video. This took a whole lot less time than I thought. I knew it wouldn't take super long. I wasn't doing it similar to the Yakuza video, right? I established this with the update. But I didn't expect it to be this short. It was kind of shocking to me that, you know, it was this short of an amount of time that I was able to make this, but I was still able to make it in such a way that I was happy with it and everything, and it worked out well. I was able to actually express myself well with this. I feel like it all worked out well. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, and you are a fan of ReZero, I highly suggest waiting till a week from now or so. I want to say you'll probably see it on the channel. You'll see another video upcoming. That'll be there. And yeah, if that intrigues you, this nice little thumbnail for it right here, then yeah, I'd say check it out, because that'll be my own genuine review of that, and I think you may like it. But yeah, well, thank you all so much for watching. This was a very fun video to make. I really enjoyed it. I hope I did interest you in the series, because I do genuinely really like this series. And as weird as it may look from the outside, you know, seeing some of the characters, I genuinely promise you that this series is really fucking good. If you don't enjoy it, you drop it, right? Simple as that. That's how every show works. If you don't enjoy it, you drop it. But I would genuinely really suggest checking it out. I fucking absolutely love this series. I am upset at myself for almost doubting how good it is and everything, because I feel like I probably would have been into this 2 years ago, maybe even further back, if I just tried it out. But, you know, I never really did, and that was kind of the problem. But that's all for this video, so take care. We got another preview coming up for the next Get Into, or rather, I guess, a small teaser, but you know what I mean by now. But nice little preview for it coming up, so thank you all for watching. Have yourself a great night, and here it is.